to the newly named False Start podcast, previously known as Jank Talk. I'm your host, Addy, and we're excited to bring you the best podcast out there for recaps, predictions, and anything football. We got a crew here today. We got 7 of us in total. We'll go through one by one, introducing each other again with our favorite teams, just to let you know. I'm Addy. I'm an Eagles fan, and fly, Eagles, fly.
All right, I'm Brad. I'm a Packers fan. Go Pack Go.
I'm Ethan, also a Packers fan.
I'm Jacob. I'm a Chiefs fan.
All right, I'm Keenan. I'm the token Jaguars fan here.
As he's wearing a Bills
jersey.
Gotta rep Nathan Peterman, man.
I'm Matthew. I'm a Packers fan.
The powder blue makes up
Wow.
for it, though. I'm Nolan. I'm a Patriots fan. Fuck everybody.
All right. So if you were listening last week, we gave our predictions on who we think is going to win the division. So this week, we're going to start off just like we did last week with a recap of Thursday night's game between the Bengals and the Browns. It was a riveting game, a lot of fantasy points scored. Then we'll go into fantasy projections that we have for this week and for the rest of the year. And after that, we'll finish with our lock and our upset that we're going to take. Every single one of us is going to take a lock and an upset. Hopefully, we'll get through the majority of the games there. So we'll begin with a recap of Thursday night's game. I'm going to give my recap because I had Baker Mayfield starting as my fantasy quarterback, which I got a lot of hate for.
Big Daddy Baker.
I got a lot of hate for from Jacob over here, which, in the first half, I thought that I was smooth sailing. I think Baker scored like 14.76 points in the first half. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. He's going to have a 30-point game. And he finished with a 15.43 points.
Dude, Nick Chubb went from I don't remember how many points he went in the first half, but did finish with 26 points. So
yeah,
pretty good outing from him.
But the Browns did win with a score of 35-30.
Not a whole lot of defense going on.
35-30.
35-30.
I mean, you got two teams with pretty mediocre defenses, and I mean the Browns have. I just think the Browns are better just because they have a better O-line, better weapons. So I didn't see really anything out of the ordinary. I think the score doesn't really tell the whole story. I think the Browns were farther ahead for the entire game than 35.
So I think a good place to start here is Baker back? Is Baker back?
Are you back on the hype train of Baker?
Yeah. Is Baker MVP? Let's start.
Baker's not MVP, but I think he's definitely back. I think he's got the talent. I think week 1 just got into his head, and I think he's able to sort of rally himself. I think iron out the kinks in practice. Obviously, week 1's going to be a bit messed up in the preseason. So I think just the whole team mentally was more prepared for game 2, and they showed it.
Now I think Baker actually. I think week 1 didn't really show what he really was. Obviously, it's week 1 with no preseason and going against the Ravens, which are obviously an amazing team. But I do think Baker is really an inconsistent quarterback. We've seen that he can have these super high highs, but he's not going to be hitting them consistently. So he's a guy that can pop off in any given week, but I wouldn't expect him to do it consistently throughout the year.
Well, that offense, I think very clearly, sorry, Eddie, I'm just going to throw it out there. The offense clearly runs through the backfield. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are an absolutely disgusting running back duo. The O-line is improving. It could be better, but it's not the worst. Baker has a lot of weapons out there. And clearly, if you give him time, he'll get it to Odell and to Jarvis. He's got Hooper, who's very solid. I think Njoku's now on IR, so that's a bit of a hit for him. But
they got a pretty good rookie tight end.
Yeah, in any case,
Florida Atlantic.
They got plenty of weapons, and I agree that Baker's got a lot of upside, a whole lot of downsides. He's cannon fodder for the media for sure.
Oh yeah.
And so if he has a bad week, it's Baker's over. Baker's overrated. He's not that great. Yeah. And if he comes back and he has a pretty decent week like he did yesterday, all of a sudden it's like Baker's back. He's the best quarterback in the world. He's gonna bring Cleveland to the Super Bowl. So
I think
he's
his
a
own
serviceable
fault too,
quarterback.
though, because of how cocky he is. He's just too
Oh,
cocky.
he brings it on himself. He does.
Yeah, he brings it on himself, and
feel like
they've
everyone
surrounded
does
him
that.
with so many weapons, like you said, that he's
Absolutely.
got to succeed.
Yeah.
I think though, as the
think,
season goes on, he will. Like I am a believer that Baker will put it together. This is his third head coach in 3 years, so I think this will be the year.
No, fourth offense coordinator.
Or yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, he's had unlucky streaks with his coaches. Unluck, yes. But I think he'll put it together the rest of the year.
I mean, part of that is being on the Browns, which is one of the worst organizations you could possibly be on.
So you think he's going to put it together in a first-year offensive coordinator?
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
It's not
either.
100% up to him whether or not it goes well.
The thing with Baker is like everyone's like saying Baker's back. Baker's got his swag back. Like he just beat the shit out of like the second worst team in football. I
But
really
he didn't even
don't
beat
have
the shit out of him.
Yeah.
exactly. Like I don't think that defense is good enough that you can say he's back. I
Yeah,
think
but we're
I need
not
to see
talking
more
about the
from him.
defense, right?
We're
We're
just
talking about Baker
just
himself.
Baker.
Even Baker, like he was good, but he wasn't great. He threw.
It was a pretty asinine interception.
I think
It
Joe
was pretty
Burrow-
bad.
I think Joe Burrow was the better quarterback on Thursday.
So let's talk about
I
Joe
agree.
Burrow now.
Yep.
How do we feel about Joe Burrow?
Battle of
He's
the
looked good
QBs.
through
Hey.
2 weeks.
What was that stat? It was like the first rookie quarterback to throw 60 passes without an interception.
61,
It's like
yeah.
61. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
Mhm.
I think
I don't know.
I believe it was Brad that thought Joe Burrow would be a bust. Just gonna throw that one out there.
Hey,
still-
there is
So-
still
I mean,
high
they're
potential
0-2,
for bust. Two games. Yeah, they lost them. There's
I
still
will
high
say-
potential for bust.
So I do think he has the potential to be a bust still, but I will say in that game he looked like an NFL quality quarterback. He was doing everything right from what I saw, but it was against the Browns, so we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the year goes. But he did definitely impress me in that game.
Dude, this is so bad though that he's going to look good because every single time it's just gonna be him throwing the ball. They were
true.
down like 14-3 before the half was over, or even before the first quarter. I don't really remember the game that well, but they're always gonna be playing from behind, so he's gonna have amazing stats. It's not,
I
it
mean,
doesn't
then again,
mean
like
them.
he only plays half the game. I mean, his defense is never gonna be able to bail him out. The Bengals defense
Right.
isn't anything really like
They
fantastic.
need Burfict back.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I think it's just
Burfict back.
I don't know about Burfict, but
BBB, bring
Bring
Burfict
like,
back.
they-
Burfict back.
I think that's the thing. A lot of fans were saying, it's great that they were able to score 30 points with that offense, but it also took them 90 offensive plays to score those 30
Yeah.
points.
In
which-
garbage time.
and they were
Yes.
they were ineffective in the run game, and I don't think that's going to change at all this year because of
Exactly.
because of how bad the Bengals O line is. And Joe Mixon's
Yep.
great. Don't get me wrong, but no matter how good the running back, you can put Ezekiel Elliott or anybody, and they're still going to struggle behind them.
The
Yeah.
Bengals have been just notorious over their history of just never putting an offensive line together for any of the talent they have. Basically, Carson Palmer's career completely wasted there. Corey
Yeah.
Dillon, another generational talent that just got absolutely wasted in Cincinnati. You're just going to continue to have that happen if you don't build the foundation, and Cincinnati's never put the willingness in that position. So Joe's just going to keep awesome.
Wasn't there a slide that they showed yesterday of like the top Bengals quarterbacks, and it was like the only two names that you could notice were Joe Burrow and Carson Palmer, and the rest of them, it's like no one's ever heard of them because the Bengals have never been able to sustain a quarterback.
Dalton was surprisingly
Dalton
good
was there
for
for
a
a
few
while.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
believe
mean,
that graphic
don't
was
diss
their
him.
first
It
round
was-
picks or something like that.
Oh,
First round picks at
Yep.
quarterback.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anything else on this game? I know that it's two AFC like North games that
It's
Yep.
two
two
AFC.
AFC North teams that don't really matter because the
They're not-
Ravens
yeah, they're
and the
bad.
Steelers are going to
Yeah.
take that division for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would say
Yeah.
I think Joe Burrow, he's gonna have a hard time if he's forced to throw 60
Yeah.
times a game with that offensive line. I think he's going to be in for a rough year.
There's going to be a game where, like, they're going to be so far behind because of the defense, and he's just going to have to keep throwing, and one day he's just not going to have it. Like, he's not going to be able to protect the football as well. Something's going to happen, maybe a fumble problems, and then everybody's going to jump on, oh, Joe Burrow's terrible, but
Well, you saw the fumble when they were on the 12-yard line, and
and then you have the interception on week 1. So,
should he be expected to do that amazing? Because if you're that good of a quarterback in college, you're going to get picked very early on. So you're going to go on a bad team.
Yeah.
So you can't expect it to be an amazing first 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, rookie years for quarterbacks are usually not anything special. I mean, look at Lamar Jackson. His first year was and then his second year he just blew out everybody and won MVP. So we'll see how he progresses.
It also depends just, on the front office and building a team around what they have.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Joe Burrow got promised, but I think we can move on from this worthless game of 2 worthless games.
Surprisingly entertaining.
Yeah.
So what I think the best way to go about fantasy is without just throwing players out there is maybe we could all give one player who really surprised us and who you think should be a start next week, and then one player that completely disappointed us. And you could determine whether or not they should still be a start, but like one surprise and one lock, kind of the same thing that we do with picking a team. I could go first again because my lock before this week was Carson Wentz because
Eagles fan, nice.
Oh man, that was awful. The game was awful. But from a fantasy perspective, he had like a little bit over 13 points against a Redskins defense. So I actually benched him. Like I said, I benched him for Baker.
Washington football team.
I'm sorry, Washington who now?
They're called the Redskins when they beat the Eagles. Otherwise, there's a football team. So he was my disappointment for sure. And then my surprise for someone who did really well, I would say, is probably Hines, which is why I went out of my way to trade for him in our fantasy league. So we have a dynasty league where I traded 2 4th-round picks next year plus J.K. Dobbins for Hines.
That's such impressive.
I got so much hate for that.
What we would call that is in the business a really bad fucking trade.
Jonathan Taylor is going to be a bust.
Wait a minute. Let's put the pause on that one.
So Addy, would you start Carson Wentz against the Rams this week?
I mean, I didn't start him.
Let me ask this.
Would I start him? Yes, because I think the Eagles are going to get blown out so quickly in that game. That Carson Wentz is going to throw 70 passes and have like 400 yards, 4 picks, and a touchdown.
So I know he's on Brad's team. Brad, thoughts?
Well, I will be starting him as he is currently my only quarterback. Maybe not the greatest strategy to not secure backup, but I'll be starting him. I don't have super high faith, but I think he'll get the job done.
That's fine. I was just curious what you, what an Eagles fan and a Carson Wentz owner would think.
I would be
Jalen Hurts
more secure now if I had a backup.
That's all I'm going to do. It's time to bring Jalen in. I know we were saying
one game, bring him in.
Carson. Yeah, one game. That's all I need to see, bro. I don't need to see more games.
That's all I need now.
Dude, you sound like a Patriots fan right now. Tom Brady had that one game against the Chiefs like 4 years ago when they got pulled out, and it was like, put in Jimmy. We want Jimmy.
I'm just like an Eagles fan, and I know I do. But is anyone else good with their surprise and their lock?
So I actually have a couple of things here. So this may be a little bit of cheating because he's already played, but my surprise has actually been Kareem Hunt. So
Brad cheating.
Yeah, I think in week 1, he showed pretty good production. I think he put up around 12 points.
Even though
in
they
PPR
scored,
leagues.
That's pretty good considering they scored 6.
Yeah, especially as a running back too in that offense. But I think this week it really showed that the concerns about having 2 elite running backs in that offense really isn't that big of a concern because they both were able to put up elite numbers. And before a guy, Kareem Hunt was a guy that I wouldn't really be 100% willing to start, maybe in my flex spot, but I think he really showed that he can be a starting running back in a lot of leagues. And then a little bit of a disappointment is coming from me with James Conner. I have him in 2 different leagues.
He's never worth it.
He let me down, I'll tell you. But I do, obviously he got injured in that game. So it didn't go super well for him in that instance. But, he brings in a lot of worries. I'm hoping that he'll be able to bring it back this week and really show that he is that elite running back that I saw when I picked him up off waiver wires 2 years ago. And he won me a league. Hopefully we get back to those days. Yeah. Who knows? We'll see.
A bottle opener. My teeth are not working. Continue.
It should never work.
Yeah, so those are my two players that I wanted to highlight this week.
Okay, I'll go with mine, Brad. My surprise last week was David Johnson, just because I had no idea what to expect, and that Chiefs defense looked pretty well. And Deshaun Watson did not look good, so considering that David Johnson salvaged, I think he had 77 yards and a touchdown, a couple of receptions for, I don't know, 20 or 30 yards, it's pretty good considering we haven't seen him in a year. So he was my surprise, and I would definitely be starting him even though he's against the Ravens. I think he'll still do well this week, just because he seems to be one of the only working weapons on that Texans offense from what we've seen. My disappointment, this week was AJ Green, even though he already played. I'll cheat like Brad. He was targeted 13 times and he caught 3 of his passes for 29 yards. I get Denzel Ward's a good cover corner, but I expected a little bit more production from him for 13 targets.
I'm curious to see what you think. What do you think was the problem? Because it's clear he was getting targets, but why wasn't he completing them?
I think it was a combination of Denzel Ward had some good coverage on some of the plays, but I think there were also times where Joe Burrow it was an ill-advised throw where Green had no business catching it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that contributed to the rise in his targets. But and in garbage time, that corner route he ran into the end zone, that would have saved me some points. But that defender grabbed his hand. We'll just let that go. But
that's good play.
I still think he's a start, even though it was a disappointing performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think once he gets more time with Joe Burrow, they'll start to get that chemistry going, and
he can
put up some big numbers.
Yeah, the guy's insanely talented. I'm sure that he'll be able to produce later on this year.
As long as he can stay healthy. I saw a stat in his first 2 games he was targeted 22 times, so you'll take that any day.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
So Jacob, you thinking you got any fantasy input, Chief?
Yeah, I do. So my disappointment was a complete, utter disaster of starting Chris Thompson.
Dude, even I didn't have the heart to start Chris Thompson. Oh man,
dude. Okay, I honestly thought he's gonna get a lot of dump offs because they're gonna be throwing, and he's a pretty reliable. He was decent on Washington, but yikes, 2.6 fantasy points. Definitely riding the bench for now.
He's gonna ride the bench the whole season, man.
I think it's gonna be a surprise week 2.
He might be a drop midway through the season kind of guy.
I already dropped him. In one of my leagues.
Week 2, I'm expecting.
Panic. that's how bad your team is.
Yeah, nobody's excited for him.
I feel like
they're all gonna do bad
because I traded for him. So
yeah. Thank you for the fifth.
For week 2, I think my lock has got to be Emmanuel Sanders. With Michael Thomas getting injured, he was already getting some looks. I think he's gonna have a huge week just because they rely so much on Michael Thomas. I think he's the next man up. So I have him. I think he's projected 13 or something. I think he's going to be well past that.
Yeah, I think his floor is at least 10.
Yeah.
And 13's a low estimate. I would say he's going to harbor around 15, 16.
The Raiders defense let Robbie Anderson run wild on them, so
that man weighs 20 pounds.
Yeah, I know. He's quick.
Yeah, he's good.
All right,
and you want to go?
All right, so my surprise actually for the first week was James Robinson, the running back of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't really show on the fantasy stat sheet because he obviously because he I believe he had 10 fantasy points he ran. I think he had 17 rushes for 60 yards. But if you watch the game, which I did, he was just moving fantastic. He saw the open hole. He did not just run. Like, it's hard to say. Like Leonard Fournette would just run into the damn lineman and just like try to brute force yards. Like James Robinson was able to maneuver. He was able to create his own yardage without having to just sort of like run through people. And he just did exactly what he was asked. He got first downs when needed. So I think like there's more trust in him now, and he looked fantastic on the field just by the eye test. And I think that he'll end up producing. I think, once the Jaguars start getting into a rhythm, with a new quarterback and all, James Robinson will be a bigger part of the offense. And I think he'll be a pretty consistent RB2 in fantasy. So that's who I'm starting in all my leagues, and mostly deeper leagues, but he's a flex pick for me.
Going forward, do you think the Jags will look to, I guess, upgrade or, draft a running back at the end of the season?
I don't actually know, because there's only one game with James Robinson, who's our undrafted free agent rookie. So
that's fair.
I think I can answer that question in a few more weeks, but right now I think he looks fantastic. I don't see a reason why we should draft a running back when we have decent depth at running back. We have a veteran. We have Raquel Armstead, but really we have to fill out our other holes in the offense and defense. So not really too worried.
I feel like you want to wait a little bit for a running back.
Yeah.
Do you have a disappointment?
Austin Eckler, I hate him. No, I mean, I should have really seen this coming, because there's a new quarterback, new system. Anthony Lynn didn't announce that they were going to change the system until like the first game, and he's not as big of a focal point in the offense. He's getting a lot of touches in terms of actual rushes. He's not getting the same receptions as he used to, and that's mostly because Phillip Rivers is just like, he is really big on passing to his running backs, and that is evident when you watch his game against the Colts, or the game against the Jaguars with the Colts. Nyheim Hines was his new Austin Eckler. So, Tyrod Taylor, not a very good quarterback. Nobody knows about the rookie. So I'm really low on Austin Eckler this week. I think he's still worth a start because he commands the volume, but he's not going to be like Christian McCaffrey 2.0 like he was last year.
So you're shopping Eckler.
I'm shopping Eckler is what I'm saying.
Oh.
He's your
put him up.
Put
him up
within this podcast period.
Yeah, but anyways, on to you, Matt. Who you got?
All right, my letdown is definitely Keenan Allen.
All right.
I think that he was that high up, though.
Sounds like the Chargers aren't doing so good.
He's high up on his projected points. I mean, he hit not about half of them, and he dropped half of his targets, which, I mean, come on. you leave me in I barely edged out in my dub this week, so I mean, I need him to perform, especially as my starting flex.
Who did you beat?
Nolan, I think.
I don't know.
Someone with significant more football knowledge than me. But
and then who do you think is gonna pop off this week?
This isn't I think a surprise to anybody, but I think Jonathan Taylor is gonna pull through.
Yeah.
And he's gonna show.
He's gonna tear his ACL.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, don't say that.
I want him to tear his ACL. I'm saying it'd be better for my fantasy team if
it would justify.
I don't even think that's true, man.
For my fantasy team personally, he's gonna go for 3 touchdowns and 200 rushing yards. That's just what he's gonna do. I mean, it's undeniable.
He's going to show that his trade.
He was the same running back on Wisconsin that he is on the Colts right now. Easily.
Fair enough. I do find it interesting that we've had 2 Colts players as expected boom players, and then 2 Chargers as the bust.
We're looking at some trends here, boys.
Yeah.
The Chargers are also playing the Chiefs this week.
I am wearing a Chargers jersey.
No faith.
No love for him these days.
All right, Nolan. Who's your surprise and who's your lock?
So my surprise was definitely and I guess it's not really that much. It's a bit of a stress to call him a surprise, but I was surprised by Josh Jacobs. That man looked like an absolute man. It was. I mean, he was beast moding on the Panthers, and he was the only reason that the Vegas Raiders pulled off any sort of offensive production. It was impressive. He looked like a true franchise running back coming through. And somebody named Ethan may have called that one out, but I didn't believe him. I thought he was nuts.
I appreciate you complimenting my player.
He got that one for sure. My disappointment of week 1 was N'Keal Harry because
I don't really know
what you had expectations for him.
I was the only one who had
just to you.
I think he played fine. Like,
I mean, except the fumble.
The fumble was egregious.
He had one really solid series, and he ended it with a fumble into the end zone for a touchback. So, that was pretty bad. I really thought that he was going to have a great part in the scheme for the offense, and he kind of floundered. So then for my projected surprise next week is N'Keal Harry of the New England Patriots. Week 2, he's going to show up big in week 2. He's going to completely erase the memory of the first game. He's going to put up 3 touchdowns with about 300 yards receiving. He's going to look like Calvin Johnson combined with Julio Jones out there. It's going to be insane.
Is he that big?
Queen.
Is he even that big?
He's not he's ripped, but he's like an inch or 2 shorter.
And if that doesn't happen, will you be fielding trade offers?
Not even close. It's my franchise.
He won't be trading. He'll be dropping.
I'm most excited for that game, though.
That game should be a good.
That will be a good game.
I think it's going to be great.
All right, you guys have anything else that you want to talk fantasy related for this week? Any? No. All right. So we'll move on to what we think is going to happen this week. Yeah. Just like I said, we're gonna give a lock and a upset based on the Vegas betting odds. That's what we deem our upsets. But anyone who's ready to go, you can start. Who, if you have it in mind? I think Brad, you had yours in mind, right?
Yeah. So I'll start with my upset. I think the Denver Broncos are going to beat the Steelers. So there's a couple things that I'm basing this off of. First of all, I think the Denver defense actually looked really good against the Titans. I was especially impressed with their run defense. I think they were able to shut down one of the best running games in the league and kind of limit it as best as they could. And at least during the first half of that game, we can see what that offense can be at its peak. And it looks really good. Now, in the second half, they kind of fell off and, didn't have as good of a performance. But I think if they can get back to that, they can definitely win this game. And along with that, looking at the Steelers, their defense is definitely elite and it's as good as any defense in the league. But their offense really didn't impress me. It seemed like they had a hard time getting things going. I saw a lot of drop passes and just a lot of mistakes coming out of them. So I think that's a game that is going to be rough for the Steelers offense. And I think the Broncos will be able to just barely edge them out.
Yeah.
And then for my lock, I'm actually going to go with a pretty safe one here. I'm going to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Panthers. I gave my lock against the Buccaneers last week, and this year I got the faith in them. I think they're going to be able to really dismantle that Panthers team, which I think actually has a pretty solid offense, but I think their defense is just atrocious. And I think this will be a really good opportunity for the Bucs to actually just kind of go to town on a team and really show what offensive firepower they're working with. So I'm going to lock them in. They are going to win that game.
All right, Ethan, you want to go next?
Yeah, so my lock is the Indianapolis Colts over the Vikings. I think I don't know why the laugh is happening.
That's a spicy one, buddy.
That's a 4-point spread. And the Vikings were fine on offense last week.
Yeah. They were fine on offense, but okay, I think Minnesota's secondary is still questionable, so I think the Colts can exploit that with T.Y. Hilton and Paris Campbell. Jonathan Taylor, you heard it from Matt, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, how can you compete with that? No, I think the Colts will come out looking to prove something after their loss to the Jaguars. And then my upset, I'm rolling with the New York Football Giants over the Chicago Bears. I think Daniel Jones will have, I'm pretty sure Golden Tate will play, so he'll have every single one of his weapons. And the Bears did not look good against the Lions. They somehow scraped out a win because DeAndre Swift dropped the ball. So
Clearly.
I think the Giants will. I think they'll give the Bears a run for their money, give them their first loss.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's switch up the order a little bit. Let's go Matt next if you got yours ready.
Yeah. All right. So my upset is going to be the Dolphins against the Bills.
Wow.
Strictly. Now this is very speculative, but it's strictly based off the Dolphins are owed a W against the Pats every year. And since they were robbed of that, they're going to come out very strong. Fitzmagic is going to hit them hard and hit them good for the dub.
You do know they can still take their dub against the Patriots later this year.
There's still a second game against the Patriots this year.
Wait, do they play in Miami?
Yeah,
I know. It's the Patriots just lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Anyways,
and then who's your lock, Matt?
My lock is, I mean, this is pretty homer, pretty biased. It's the Packers versus the Lions.
Yeah,
I feel like the Packers are coming off the first half. They came out against the Vikings, and we went like in the first 3 red zone appearances, we had nothing and then a field goal. And then we started getting our groove. I think we're coming into it. So when we come out against the Lions, like LaFleur and Rodgers are going to come out in sync. We've got that offense going, and we're just going to roll them. Like, we're not going to give them a chance.
All right, so I'll give you my pick because it goes straight into this. I think my upset is the Detroit Lions are going to come into Lambeau and beat the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, that's my upset.
Why do I really hate on the Packers here on this podcast, aren't you?
I don't hate the Packers.
Did Adam just say his upset? The Lions.
Yes, you heard that correctly.
So the Lions, why I think the Lions have a good chance is I like Matthew Stafford. They probably should have won that game against the Bears, except Swift dropped that ball. I think the Packers are going to be cocky. They just won huge coming from Minnesota. Lions are pissed off because they feel like they got robbed of a victory. And I like their coaching. I like AP being back on the Lions. He's going to run through that Packers defense. And yeah.
Fair. I think the Lions are used to being robbed for wins at this point.
I cannot.
It happens almost every week.
I cannot believe that any sane human being can pick the Lions to beat the Packers. I mean, after last week, they weren't even doing that well, but they were ahead, and then they just decided to lose the game. Like it wasn't the Bears. They just decided to lose the game.
Did anyone lock the Rams to get back at Addy?
Yeah,
no.
I mean,
my lock. That was my lock.
I wasn't here. I wasn't here.
Your lock is the
my lock because I hate the Eagles so much. I want Jalen Hurts to start. I think the Rams are going to come into Lincoln Financial Field and beat my Philadelphia Eagles really badly.
No faith.
It's pretty simple.
No faith. You call yourself
It's not about faith. It's about I want Jalen Hurts to start because Carson Wentz is washed and he's always injured.
Isn't he like a 4-year veteran? Like a 4 or 5 year
always
veteran?
Injured.
How is he washed already?
Well, and the Eagles isn't always hurt.
Yeah,
exactly. The Eagles are always hurt. We need to fire a strength and conditioning coach. Chip Kelly is the only reason why we won the Super Bowl.
Chip Kelly.
I can't do this. I can't take this serious.
Why? You need to listen to the greatest analyst on YouTube named EDP445, and he really broke it down this week about how Chip Kelly is the reason why we won the Super Bowl. But yeah, Eagles are gonna lose. That's gonna be like pretty easy game. I want them to lose so Jalen Hurts can come back in and play.
Fair enough.
Jacob, you want to give your lock and your pick?
All right. My lock for the week has to be the Buffalo Bills over the Miami Dolphins. I think the Bills looked great last week, even though they were facing the Jets. I think the Bills are going to go beat the pants off Miami and show that they're the new kings of the AFC East. And I think my upset was I agree with Ethan. I think the Giants are going to beat the Bears. It helps that I'm always low on the Bears. I think even if the Bears won the Super Bowl this year, I'd still be low on the Bears. But the Giants looked pretty good,
Bears.
and they're going to pull it off.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I'll just say that my lock was for sure the Rams over the Eagles. The Eagles looked awful. I mean, just absolutely terrible.
Awful.
Their offensive line just was a turnstile. They just were not doing anything. They just collapsed on defense for the entire second half. And Carson was just not making good decisions. I watched a good portion of that game, and it was tragic. I'm not gonna lie. We watched it
together, and I was like almost crying.
Yeah, he was about to burst into tears the whole time, and I'm just like, oh man.
The only thing that made me happy from the past week was the Chicago Bears winning $300.
Yeah.
But otherwise, me watching that Eagles game, I was in pain.
No, but the Rams just looked fantastic against the Cowboys. They were firing really well on offense, and I mean their defense was fine. I don't really have any expectation for the defense because I think just the Cowboys struggled on offense last week, but.
I like to take it more as the Cowboys being bad than the Rams.
That's how I'm taking it. So yeah. I just think the Rams are going to blow them out of the water, just absolutely blow them out of the water. And then my upset is actually, my lock last week was the Raiders over the Carolina Panthers, and my upset this week is Raiders over the Saints.
All right.
I think the Raiders looked great on offense. I think Josh Jacobs is the real deal. The thing that makes me a little shaky on this one is I have no idea. Like if they're able to stop Josh Jacobs, I don't know how well they're gonna be able to win the game through the air. Just because I don't have a lot of faith in the Oakland receivers, but I have enough faith in Josh Jacobs able to carve up the Saints defense to really just put my faith in them. I think they're gonna be the upset this week. I'm really high on them.
Is that at all influenced by Michael Thomas being out?
I think Michael Thomas being out has a I guess gives more of an edge to the Raiders, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things it should affect that much because they have Emmanuel Sanders stepping up. I think their young core receivers is good. So, and you have Drew Brees, a very accurate quarterback, so it's not like it's going to make a very big difference.
Right.
So, I think it's just mostly I'm really high on the Raiders. I love Josh Jacobs. I think John Gruden is doing something good there, and they're playing well on offense last week. So, I'm just high on them again. That's really it.
All right.
And Nolan, are you the last one to give your pick?
I believe I am the last one up, so I'll rip on through mine here. I'm going to go with a lock on the Arizona Cardinals over the Washington football team. I loved what I saw from the Cardinals last weekend. I don't think that should be too much of a surprise from people. I thought the football team, which is still like, why do I have to say that? The football team, I thought they came out with a lot of energy, and I think they're actually going to be a really interesting team to watch here. That front seven on defense is legitimately kind of scary looking. I think we got to give them credit where credit is due. Chase Young was a beast, and I think he really is going to cap off a strong defensive front for that team, which may cause problems for the Cardinals here because Kyler Murray is really, he's inclined to run. I think they'll pull it out, and it's going to be a really good game to watch legitimately. But I think the Cardinals are a lock on that one. And then for the upset, Sunday Night Football between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks.
And that's all the time we have.
That's all the time we have, folks. Moving on to next week.
Sorry, let them be wrong. All right, let's get this on camera.
Let me go ahead and put my foot on my mouth here. I think the New England Patriots are going to win that football game on Sunday night against the absolutely freaky Seattle Seahawks. That team is terrifying.
I think the Falcons are just bad. I think Seattle is one of the best teams, but the Pats have a good team and a good coach.
They're going to. I think it's going to be a really fun game because every game is really going to be interesting with the Patriots just because we don't know what to expect. I think they'll have a unique idea.
The thing that interests me with how everybody views the Patriots is what I always hear it is the Patriots will take away your best weapon and they will force you to beat you through other means. And Russell Wilson, every time they faced the Patriots, was their best weapon. And every time Russell Wilson has faced the Patriots, he's done excellent. So I just don't know what Bill's got cooked up for this week, but it better be something good to stop Russell Wilson from doing his magic. So,
well, I don't know if you guys saw that interview where Bill Belichick said that Russell Wilson is probably the greatest player in the league right now.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
That's
underrated.
That's high praise.
Better than him.
That's very high praise.
He said that in the media he feels that Russell Wilson is underrated and that there's not really a player that's better than him right now in the league. And I mean,
it's hard to disagree.
Can't argue with
it's
them.
hard to disagree. I mean, like we played the Chiefs and we've contained Pat Mahomes when we've played the Chiefs. So I feel like, you know, Bill has an idea for that one. But like Keenan said, we play the Seahawks. We struggle with that man. I mean, we don't really know what the hell we're doing half the time with Russell because he can do basically anything. Anything we throw at him, he'll just adjust and do something new. So who the hell knows? But
for sure,
I believe in the boys. I think they're going to pull it out, and it's going to be a real fun time.
Real homer pick. You know, you love to hear it. You really do
real homer picks.
It's a real homer pick.
It's good to get Nolan on the video.
Yeah, me too, for
this.
sure. Real homer pick.
Anti-Philly in both weeks, mind you.
True.
I mean, I started Cam this week, so I hope you're right.
Those 3 touchdowns in N'Keal Harry's going to really help out.
I mean, I to talk about the Patriots for a little bit, I'm of the opinion that Cam Newton is a big upgrade from Tom Brady. And I don't know if that's like a controversial.
How do you feel about that?
But I think Cam Newton's fantastic. He at this point in both of their careers, I think he does what Tom Brady does, but just better. And he just has another dimension to his game that Tom Brady cannot ever have. So to have, I mean, I just think Cam Newton is just phenomenal. I think he's a wonderful quarterback for the Patriots. I think he's exactly what he wanted. I think the only person that he could possibly want more would be Lamar Jackson or Russell Wilson. So for at least what Bill's doing, Mahomes is fills in every blank for quarterbacks, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Cam is a great fit. I think it's it's amazing that we brought him in, and it's going to be really awesome to see what he's going to do with a guy like Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick writing up plays for him and creating a whole new scheme for him, basically. Just it was cool the first week, but it was against the Dolphins, and we kind of didn't have to get too terribly creative. The Dolphins aren't that bad, but I think
they're better than people give them credit. But carry on, sorry.
I think it'll be really cool to see against a team that most people see as elite in the Seahawks and see how the Patriots stack up, because even after the first game, people say, okay, the Patriots are still a good football team, but are they going to be in that top tier again? Are they going to still be in that conversation of the best teams in the NFL? And I think this week is going to be the big kind of catalyst for that. Like how are people going to feel about this team? It comes down to this week, and it's going to be hard to go overcome it either way.
Because you guys looked good against a team nobody expects to make the playoffs, and now you're going to be you are going to be put up against a team that could very well easily make the NFC Championship, Super Bowl. Yeah, so it'll be a big test
for sure.
All right, so
I was just gonna ask. Does anyone have any last thoughts about Week 2? I know it was kind of weird this past week watching Week 1, all the games with the booing. That was one thing for me because, I'm watching the game and it feels like a regular game, and then there'll be a call that goes against the home team, and you hear the boos. And at first I'm like, "Oh, the crowd's booing," and then wait, there's no crowd. So the operator in the top of the stadium is like, boo sounds.
Yeah, they just probably have
in that scenario. Are you just looking up and you're like, come on, man?
Yeah, come on.
Do they hear it?
Really?
I don't know.
Is it live or is it only? Is it over?
It's over the whole It's over the speaker system. Yeah. Everybody.
The NFL has literally become an episode of iCarly. It's insane. It's like,
that's gotta be insane for the players.
Bad call.
Oh,
yeah. the middle of the fucking game.
I want Gibby to parachute from a stadium.
Easily.
So,
yeah.
Any last thoughts about week 2? What you think it's going to bring? Any other games?
I think we're going to see more solid offenses and defense. I think now that we have a game under our belt,
sure.
I think the football.
Preseason.
Yeah, I think week 1 was preseason. Now I think we're going to get into more legitimate
I think week
games.
1 is preseason. So. Week 2 we'll start to see a little bit more solidification, but I think we'll still see some shakiness, especially from some of the younger teams. But it should definitely be a lot more consistent football.
That's why it's safe to say Baker is back.
Baker is back.
That's why it's safe to say the Packers. Matthew Stafford's going to throw for 7 touchdowns this week.
I mean, we've got disagreeing opinions on that one.
I mean, I don't know about that one, buddy.
All right. Any last thoughts? Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up here. If no one has any thoughts. So thank you all for listening to this podcast, the False Start podcast. We hope to keep bringing you content throughout the NFL season and beyond. You could hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, and Spotify. So thanks for listening.